Shana Tova. May this year be a wonderful year for you and everyone you love. I would like to share the story of two scholars who profoundly influenced my life. My father, may he live and be well, and my Zeta of blessed memory. Our story played itself out as we would return from synagogue. We would often encounter a well-meaning neighbor who was returning from some place other than synagogue. He would greet us with a warm Shabbat Shalom. My Zeta would reciprocate in kind and engage him in conversation. My dad, on the other hand, tried to avoid these encounters at all costs. The disparity in their behavior was a discussion of many spirited Shabbat afternoons. My dad firmly believed that wishing Shabbat Shalom to someone who did not keep Shabbat was hypocritical and violated the rabbinic mandate against Misayeya Lidei Ovre Avera, strengthening the hands of those who sin. My Zeta had a very different perspective. He believed that we are charged with the responsibility of meeting each person where they are in the manner in which we encounter them, b'sever panim yafos, with the most beautiful and welcoming facial expression. Zeta pointed to a dialogue in the Talmud regarding this morning's Torah reading. We read that Yishmael, Abraham's older son, is wandering in the desert with his mother Hagar. They are literally dying of thirst. We read, Vayishma Elohim es kol hana'ar, and God heard the voice of the child. Vayikra Malach Elohim el Hagar, and the angel of God called to Hagar. Vayomer, and he said, Al tiri kishama Elohim es kol hana'ar ba'asher husham. Don't be afraid, for God has heard the voice of the child from where he is. The Talmud focuses on the words ba'asher husham, from where he is. God was not concerned with the positive or negative aspects of Yishmael's life leading up to that moment. Yishmael was reaching out to God, and God encountered him where he was, as he was, how he was. Zeta believed that each and every Jew has a spiritual voice that comes from deep within their being. It is not our place to judge them or avoid them. And I understand my father's position that acceptance automatically validates choices and actions. I'm not certain that I agree. My role as a rabbi and a teacher of Torah is to accept people asher husham, in the place where they are. That is an important realization for today's synagogues. A realization that is essential to ensuring the existence and relevance of this synagogue for future generations. We perceive ourselves as a warm and welcoming community. In many ways we are, yet there is much work to be done, particularly in the area of welcoming interfaith families. Some will argue that welcoming interfaith families is inconsistent with the theology of conservative Judaism, which has always promoted marriage within the faith. In fact, marriage within the faith has been a stated value of Judaism since the time of the prophet Ezra. Judaism has always dealt with two realities: lechatchila, the targeted outcome, and b'diavad, the reality as it has emerged. The conservative movement has dedicated significant resources towards creating opportunities for Jews to meet Jews. The multitude of youth programming supported by our movement creates an environment in which Jews can engage with each other socially. As many of you know, 10 years ago, I was blessed to meet Elisa on J-Date. To show my gratitude, I am happy to offer 1 month's membership to any child of our congregation who desires to join J-Date. This being said, we fall short of the mark in addressing the b'diavad, the reality as it has emerged and continues to emerge in the American Jewish community. We have long dreamed of equal acceptance and opportunities within the greater community. The American Jewish dream includes the ability to attend the same schools, live in the same neighborhoods, have the same employment and economic opportunities. In short, we have longed for the moment when the Jewish community would be totally accepted into the greater American community. We have realized that dream and more. We are blessed to live in a time that welcomes diverse population with equal opportunities. We live in an open society, one in which Ted Yankelowitz will have the same job opportunities as Ted Lowe. We live in a time when Ivy League universities proudly tout Jewish student organizations on campus. We have been privileged to see restrictive covenants and deeds become a thing of the past. We are blessed to live in a time and place where discrimination is not only unsavory, it's illegal. One can argue that the skyrocketing level of intermarriage is in fact the further realization of the American Jewish dream. We want to be accepted. We crave to be accepted. What greater level of acceptance is there than entering into the bond of marriage? This brings us to the realm of b'diavad, the reality as it has emerged. What is that reality, and how are we to respond? According to the UJA Federation's Jewish Community Study, half of the non-Orthodox couples that wed between 2006 and 2011 are interfaith marriages. Only 1 in 7 of interfaith households belong to a congregation. However, interfaith households who are part of a congregation parallel in married households in their observance of Jewish holidays, accessing Jewish websites, contributing to Jewish charities, and participating in Jewish cultural programs. In short, synagogue affiliation equals Jewish engagement. Now let's bring that reality a little closer to home. During the last 3 years as your rabbi, I've been blessed to officiate at life cycle events that have brought together children of our congregation. We have shared the joy of ufrufs and weddings, and we've cried together at funerals. I would estimate that more than 50% of our Hebrew school alumni, whom I've been blessed to encounter, are married to people of other faith traditions. These are our children, and more importantly, these are the parents of our grandchildren. How we react to their needs, how we respond to their desire to connect with the synagogue and Jewish life will create the reality of the next generation, our grandchildren. We can become the synagogue that looks at our children and says, Al tiri ki shama Elohim es kol anar ba'asher hu sham. Don't be afraid, for God has heard your voice from where you are. Or we can choose to turn our backs on the future, fearing that embracing interfaith families sends a message that we no longer perceive marriage within the faith, lechatchila, the targeted outcome. I am proud to report that in 2008, the Leadership Council of Conservative Judaism adopted Keruv principles, which are salient in the following quote: "We welcome interfaith couples. Their loving commitment to one another enriches us, as does their participation in our congregations. We seek to share with them the gifts of our faith, practices, learning, and fellowship." What is this concept of Keruv, and why should we buy into it? Keruv literally means to draw near. In the realm of conservative Judaism, Keruv refers to a process of synagogue outreach to those on the periphery of Jewish life, making the spiritual treasures of Judaism more accessible by cultivating a welcoming posture and offering opportunities for spiritual growth and connection. While the primary focus of Keruv is the engagement of interfaith families, it's not limited to interfaith families alone. Keruv targets populations who have previously felt unwelcome in synagogue life. Keruv seeks to engage gay and lesbian Jews as well. I know there are people who are sitting in the pews saying, "I can't believe he chose this topic for Rosh Hashanah, day one." To those who are thinking these thoughts, I apologize for making you feel uncomfortable. However, this is an essential issue that must be addressed to the broadest spectrum of our congregational family. Im ein lo achshav emasai. If not now, when? When will a better opportunity present itself? There's a lot of misinformation surrounding our congregational practices as they pertain to Keruv. So much so that longtime members of our congregation have lovingly advised their children to seek out Reform congregations, as they are certain that conservative synagogues do not welcome interfaith families. Unfortunately, the perception of conservative synagogues has not aligned itself with the reality of conservative synagogues. Our mission statement states, Manetto Hill Jewish Center embraces the entirety of Klal Yisrael, the community of Israel. As such, we seek to serve the entirety of Klal Yisrael, regardless of their personal religious practice or sexual orientation. Interfaith families are an integral and welcome part of our community. The Board of Trustees has created a membership category specifically tailored for interfaith families, affording a maximum engagement within the parameters of conservative Judaism. Our ritual committee has reviewed our ritual policies as they pertain to interfaith families. We have evaluated and revised these policies and practices to afford opportunities for interfaith families to share in their child's bris, baby naming, or bar or bat mitzvah with both parents on the bima. On a pastoral level, please know that I am here for every member of our community, ba'asher husham, in the place where you are. In dealing with illness, I am here as your rabbi to visit and comfort you. When dealing with end-of-life issues, I am here to advise you on the religious parameters of difficult situations which present themselves. Throughout the grieving process, I am here for you to comfort, counsel, and share in difficult times as well. Please know that I will never judge you. I will accept you, ba'asher hu sham, in the place where you are. Perhaps one of the most active committees in our congregation is our newly formed Keruv committee. Under the able leadership of Barbara Neisowitz, this committee has gained national attention. The Keruv committee has recently sponsored a community forum that attracted 40 participants. Among the participants were parents of children who are partners in interfaith relationships, partners in interfaith relationships, and grandparents of interfaith grandchildren. The goal of this forum was to help us understand the needs of interfaith families so we can better serve their needs. If there is one message that you take away from this sermon, I pray that our community's vision on Keruv is abundantly clear. Manetto Hill Jewish Center is an inclusive community that embraces the entirety of Klal Yisrael, the community of Israel, regardless of their personal religious practice or sexual orientation. Interfaith families are an integral and welcome part of our community. Our goal is clear. Respect the sacred spark within each of us. May we emulate God by embracing everyone, ba'asher hu sham, in the place where they are. May you be inscribed on this Rosh Hashanah day in the book of life for wonderful things. May this year be a year of health, happiness, and beauty for all of you. Shana Tova.